All right, welcome everybody. So today we get to talk about something called functions. So I'll try not to make this too long, but I want to go kind of slow so you understand what we're doing. It's actually very simple. So a function in Python, you use this to bundle a set of statements or instructions that you want to use again and again, repeatedly. Maybe because, I don't know, you just want to, instead of having to keep on writing the code, or maybe it's really complex, usually not, but it's, just want to reuse. So with the help of these things called functions, that you can see one on the screen there, I call it favorite, we avoid rewriting the same logic or the same code again and again in the program. All right, so let's get started here. So here I have a function called favorite. So Python def, this is a keyword used to define the function. The name of the function is favorite. And then we have two parentheses. Right now, there's nothing in those parentheses. We don't need anything, but we'll put stuff in there later with other functions, and a colon. Then we have a series of indented statements here. So it's these indented statements that will be called or used or executed when we call this function. So the way we call the function is simply right there. We just give it the name, and then in this case, just a parentheses with nothing inside. So what happens when I run this? Okay, I run it. Oh, it just comes up here. So what happened is I ran this and it came up here and says, yeah, we got a function here called favorite. So let's go up there, and it's got a bunch of print statements, and we printed it. What would happen if I wanted to do something like this? Maybe I want to call it several times. Even put it in a loop, couldn't I don't know. Something just, let's run it. And there we go. Oh, call it 3 times. I didn't have to rewrite that code 3 times, just wrote it once and ran it 3 times. Okay, just a little example there to get us started. All right, but what if I wanted to do this? So let me clear this here. Let me get rid of this here. We're going to change this function just a little bit. Okay, so let me copy it in right here. Okay, so here we have a function, and it has something called a parameter. Okay, that means that a value is going to be passed to this parameter called flavor. And it's just a variable. Now notice I'm using the f print or f string here. So I could have just done quotes here. My favorite flavor is comma flavor. So let me just kind of tell you what I could have done here, just so I don't confuse anybody, because that's not what I want to do. So I could have just written this same statement here, if I can type, and then I could have just put a comma there and then flavor. Okay, and then I'd probably want to put, since I have exclamation mark. There we go. All right, so this is just the variable. Okay, all right, let me get rid of that. But you do understand that these are the same thing, but this f print or f string makes it nice and easy, because I don't have to keep on putting these commas and quotes and commas and another comma and then a quote again. I just put that variable right there in brackets. Just put the f right there. All right, let me get rid of this. Now, enough of a review of f print there. Okay, so what am I doing here? What I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's do this here. Okay, I've got a variable called my taste. And my taste is actually chocolate. And what I'm going to do is take chocolate that's in this variable my taste, right? Okay, so we got a variable here called my taste. I'll just do my underscore, right up there. Okay, that's my taste. And I put this chocolate in there. Okay, then I'm going to take the value of what's in here, which is chocolate. And I'm going to use that variable going to pass. This is what is known as an argument. So sometimes we use these interchangeably, but this is called an argument, which gets passed to the, you got it, the parameter. Okay. So the argument gets passed to the parameter, which is chocolate in this case, right? It's in, that's what my taste is. That's what's in that variable, and that argument gets passed, and that's what's going to be used here. Hey, let's see if it works. See if Rick typed in everything right. Okay, so you can see wherever we have flavor here, now we have chocolate. Why is this a good thing? Well, what if I wanted to change it? What if I wanted to change my taste to something else? Okay, maybe I want to say strawberry, or maybe I even want to ask the user what they think. Like have the user input a value for my taste, and then have that passed as an argument to this parameter flavor. Let's run it. Let me clear this so there's no confusion. Okay, let's run it again. Now it says strawberry everywhere, doesn't it? This is the beauty of function, and I can use this several times, right? I can, one time I can use them together. I could have put chocolate back here, right? Okay. Matter of fact, let's do a, just so we can separate these a little bit. I'll do a print here. Print, and what I am going to do is put a \n. I could also put this, right? I could put this up here in the function, but I'll leave it here. Okay. All right, let's run this. So look, I have my favorite flavor is strawberry. My favorite flavor is chocolate. So I can use this code anytime I want to send a flavor or whatever the value is. Oh, I put chocolate. Oh, there we go. There we go. I'm sure you caught that, right? Chocolate. Okay, there, that's better. Okay, I can use this code. I don't have to rewrite it every time. I'm reusing the same code. Cool, huh? Okay, this is what we call a positional parameter. We'll see why we call it that here in our next function I'm going to use here. We're going to send it a couple of arguments. So, all right, let me clear this. Let me grab another function here that I'm going to use. And this function here, what we are going to do is, let me get rid of that. Well, you guessed it. What we are going to do is take two values. Here's our parameters. Our function is called add. I'm going to take two values, two arguments, pass them to these this parameters, num1, num2. I'm going to add the two together, and I'm going to return something called sum. Okay, let me explain this. And to best do this, let me write out the rest of the code. Okay, so I have doing a function here called add. Okay, so they're right there, and I'm passing it two arguments. Okay, so that's why we call these positional parameters, because these parameters are going to get the value that they're passed to them in that order. So argument 1 here will get passed to parameter 1. Argument 2 will get passed to parameter 2. Okay. In this case, it really doesn't matter, but it can in other functions. Okay. So we want to make, so it is important to remember that these do get passed in this order. And this function is expecting two arguments because it has two parameters. Okay, so what happens when we do this? What's going to happen is these two values can get added together, num1, num2, and get put in a value called sum. And then we're going to return sum to this function. So now add 5, 3. Notice we got, these are integer values. I've got a comma between the two arguments. Just like here, I have a comma between the two parameters. That's what separates them. And that sum is actually going to be returned here and be put in this variable answer, and we'll print the answer. Really? Yeah, let's take a look. 8. 5 plus 3 is 8. What if I change these? What if I put 7 here? I get a 10. Okay. So I can do addition for me. So, Rick doesn't have to worry about that. All right. Okay. I can take this even a little further though, can't I? What if I did this? Oh, forgot to mention that. What happened to this? It never got printed. No, anything after the return does not get printed. So that's why we never saw this print statement getting printed. So I just want to make sure we knew this never gets printed. The return is the end of our function. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is let me get rid of this. We don't need that anymore, do we? No. And what I'm going to do is let me get rid of this because we're going to change it up just a little bit. What I'm going to do is let me copy my code in here, make things a little faster, and Rick doesn't make as many mistakes. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the user to enter in a value. I'm going to say enter a value for X. And I'm going to assign that to a variable called X. Now, you remember our input function, right? Okay. So this is a function that's already built in. We're creating our own functions. Isn't this cool? We can create our own commands. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm putting this using the integer function. I'm taking that input function and I'm putting it inside an integer function. Why am I doing that? Because I want to make sure X and Y are sent as integers. Okay. So remember the input function, when you put in whatever value you put in, it treats it as a string. So we're forcing it, making sure, nope, we want to make these integers. Whatever you put in here, these variables are going to become, that value is going to be an integer in those variables. Okay, so what we're going to pass in is X and Y. Okay, so we have X and Y. So let's actually do this here. X and Y, okay, which are in type integer. Okay. And whatever value we enter in, I don't know, can we put a 3 and a 9 maybe? Whatever values we put in, okay, are going to be passed as arguments to these two parameters, num1 and num2. Okay, then what's going to happen here is it's going to do, sorry, I kind of overwrote this here, but sum is going to be num1 plus num2. We return the sum. So return sum. Now that's going to just return it to here. Okay, and we're going to put that value as answer and print answer. Let's take a look. Let me see if I can get rid of some of this so you can see what's going on. Okay, let's run it and see what we get. Let me clear this so there's no confusion. Okay, run. Enter a value for X. Well, I said I'd put in a 3, so let's do that. Enter in a value for Y. I said I'd put in a 9, so let's do that. And it just prints out the answer 12. Okay, so we returned the sum, got returned here to this function, and it got assigned to this variable answer, and we printed out answer. All right. Let's try something a little different. Okay. All right. Let's try just something that's going to be a little different here. Okay. So before I move forward, this is really the most nothing new. I'm not going to do anything really new. This is just really cool that we can put what we've been doing here is we've been putting our function. This is the function here, and we can create many functions in our program. And then I'm just calling the function from within the same program. So for example, here's the add function, right? That we've been doing. I've been calling it from within the same program where the function exists. Nothing wrong with that, okay? So we can actually, in our code, if we wanted to, we could have many functions, okay? I mean, I could have another function, for example. Let me show you. I could have another function that did, I don't know, let's do this. How about multiply? okay, takes two arguments. I put some comments in here, okay, so we know what it does, but this function takes two arguments, multiplies them, and returns the product. So here we do num1 times num2 product. So here I could have just said, oh, okay, well, what if I wanted to do this? Product. Well, let me do that. So we'll do add, and then there's too much of this here. So I have my add function. I have my multiply function. Here, I've added the two values. Okay. And let's just kind of keep it, yeah, well, let's keep this a little simpler here. I'm just going to assign, let's just assign X4 and Y5, okay? Just kind of keep it a little simpler. Here, I'm going to add, so I'm going to do this. I'll say print. Let's say X plus Y equals answer, okay? But I can also do this, right? I can say, what if I want to, see, I'll say answer 1 here. Okay, because I'm going to do two answers. What if I say answer 2 equals multiply space there so you can see it, X and Y. I'm going to pass the same two values. I'm going to say print, and I'll do my \n there, X times Y equals, do a comma, and I'll say answer 2. I can type here. There we go. That's why Rick likes to just copy and paste. All right, let's see what we've got here. Good, it all fits in the screen here. Okay. Let me kind of give us a little bit more room here. Okay, so I have our, get rid of these comments here so we can see all this. There we go. So we have an add function and a multiply function. They both take two arguments, calling them both X and Y, can be different things, and they're going to be passed to two parameters. Okay. This one's returning the sum, this one's returning the product. Now, I just called them sum and product. Okay, but the value within product will be returned, and in this case, it will be returned to this function call, assigned to this variable, and printed here. Let's try this. So let's run it. There we go. Look at this. Okay, so this first one did the addition of X plus Y. Okay, the sum, X plus Y returned to 9. So here's our X and Y, 4 and 5, that's 9. The other one did a multiply. Okay, and of course I could have asked the user for input for both of these. Okay, and whatever I inputted, they would be returning me both the sum and the product. Right. All right, I said there's one more thing I want to show you. And I know for my students, this is not something I require at this level, but I just want to show you how cool this is, okay? So I'm going to do a separate video that's going to explain how to do things like what I'm about to show you right here. All right, what am I about to show you? I'm about to bring this up. What is this? Well, this is one of several different types of integrated developer environments, IDEs, that we can use for any programming language. This one here that I'm using is called Visual Studio Code. It's a free download from Microsoft, but you can also get these free with Python. Has one. When you download Python, you get a free IDE. So I don't want us to get lost in this right now, but what I do want to show you is I'm going to put my code over here. I've actually got two files. One is my program, and then one, well, let's do, and another one's going to be where I'm going to put my functions. What? Yes. So let me go over here. I got a file called arithmetic functions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy those two. Actually, what I'm going to copy is those two functions we just got done using. So there we go. Here's my two functions. There's the add function. Okay. Has two parameters, which means that this function takes two arguments, adds them together, and returns a sum. So here's my documentation. We call that a doc string for that function. And here's another function, multiply. This function takes two arguments, multiplies them together, and returns the product. We've seen that. Okay, that's the doc string for this. And then here I've got my code for, oh, let me get rid of this. That's not correct anymore, is it? Left over. Here we go. This code is the file that contains, functions to help us with simple arithmetic operations. Okay, I'll show you the rest of that. There we go. All right. So I'm going to save that. Okay, so this is a Python file that contains just our functions. Okay, now what I'm going to show you is I got a program here called My Program. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something called import. So what I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is going to say, I want to import from this file called arithmetic functions. Okay, it defaults to Python file. Import asterisk. What I'm asking it to do is take all these functions, I only got two, add and multiply, and import them into this program called myprogram.py. I can now use these functions. So I put these functions in a separate file. Why would I do that? So I can use them in any program I want to use, as long as I import them. Use this statement right here. So as long as I use this from any of my new programs that I write, I can use these functions. It's kind of like, not built-in functions, but ones I created. I'm just going to use them. All right, let's take a look. How does this work? Okay, so just like before, nothing new. Okay, let Rick copy his code in there. All right, so here's my call the functions. So here's my add function. Where is that? That's actually here. It's going to get it from this file, arithmetic functions. There it is right there. Okay, I'm going to pass it two numbers. I'm just going to say the sum is my sum. Okay, here I'm going to ask the user to enter in two values. We did that already. And make sure they're integers. See how these IDEs can help you, you wand over it, give you a little help here. Okay. What else do I want? Okay, then we'll come down here and we're going to use this this function called multiply. Where is that again? Right here. There's our multiply function. We get to use it because we're saying, yeah, we want to get these functions from here. Get those functions and just use them as if they were part of this code. No difference now. All we had to do is add this, and it says if I had them right in here. Okay, let's run this. Okay, so there's the sum is 12. So there, just print out the sum is 12. Enter in a value for X. So let me put in a 3. Enter in a value for Y. I'll put a 5. And it just took those values, X and Y. My product is 15. So what I'm showing you here is I can actually create my functions, put them in another file, separate file. And now I can use them from this program or any program I write, as long as I just call it from within those functions from it within the program. So I just put this at the beginning of my program, and now I have access to those functions that are in another file. this file right here, arithmetic functions, arithmetic functions. Kind of cool, huh? So much good stuff. So I hope you found this helpful. And again, the most important thing is just understand what the power of these functions are. Okay, what functions do for us. Okay, so here there's the same functions right at the beginning of our program. Okay, so this is the most important stuff in this lesson here, just understanding that you're creating these functions here, and whatever you want them to do, you can call the function. Okay. All right, I'll let you go. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. Hope you're finding these things helpful. Please go out, try, explore this stuff. Find a good resource on Python and go further in all this stuff. Okay, just trying to get you that first step. All right, hope you're enjoying these. Hope you find them helpful. I know I love talking about it. All right, take care.